So there are arguments that I can be objective about. I can see the other person's side. I can even agree with it if it, depending on what arguments they make in favor of their position. But this is one scenario where I kind of feel like what we got ended up not really being as good as what we could have had. Right, so again, if you click this video, you already know the spoiler. I'm not going to bother putting that up. But Trinity, right, the main villain of Dexter Season 4, dies at the end of the season when Dexter catches him. Then we get the plot twist of Rita being deceased. And this is seen by a lot of people as being so poetic because it's Dexter's serial killer life catching up with his civilian life. And there's a certain level of irony in him killing the person who killed her before finding out, which means that he never truly got revenge for her. And again, I don't dispute any of this. I don't think the people who feel that this is a good way to end the series, or even, just a good episode or good conclusion to the season overall, are incorrect for feeling that way. But the problem I have with a lot of different series, American shows particularly, is that they'll have a season-wide villain, right? A villain who lasts for a season. And you always know that the villain will be dispatched of by the end of it. Usually by death. Sometimes they just leave. But this whole thing of always having them meet the same fate, I think it's formulaic, right? So like Season 1's villain was Ryan, gone. Season 2's villain was Dokes, taken out. Season 3 villains was technically the Skinner, but truly it was really Miguel, and, gone. You get the idea. Like every season, you have this villain that shows up. Oh, they're so big and bad, and then by the end of it, they're gone. I just think you miss something in terms of always doing the same thing over and over again. And there was a version of Season 4's finale that was written where Trinity was going to get away. I don't know why they scrapped it. Maybe they felt the same, right, poetic end to the character was fitting, right, that the fans feel, right, of like him dying before Dexter realizes that he's killing the person who's already killed his wife. But again, really think about this, right? Because it's, Dexter's the kind of show that had a reputation for having the worst ending, or one of the worst endings that people had ever seen in a TV show, pretty reviled. But just picture this, right? Let's say seasons 5, 6, and 7 mostly stay as they are. And trust me, it's a tall order asking me to not change anything about season 6. I would erase so much of that season, it would be unrecognizable. But let's just pretend those 3 stay as they are. With one insert. Every couple of episodes, Dexter maybe goes outside, he looks around. It could be while let's say he's with Deborah or he's just by himself. But he goes outside, he looks into the sky and he goes, I know you're out there. And, even when, season 6 had the whole plot of Trinity's son, right, killing the family and then framing him for having done it. I think that episode would be enhanced if Trinity was still alive, because Dexter could say, oh crap, is he actually still, did he find them? Did he catch them? And you could have a plot twist where, again, it turns out that it was Jonah that killed his mother, and then, of course, his sister killed herself. But, while this is going on, we see Dexter drive away, right? He's finally gotten rid of the demon of Brian. He picks up the ghost of Harry. And as he's driving, you see this hand, right? And you just hear that voice. It's already over. And you know exactly who was watching, who was curious, who was there. And again, this is just how you would have that one episode end, right? You could even get a stand-in to do John Lithgow and have him like voiceover. And I'm accommodating of the fact that he's a busy man. He's going to not be able to just do 4 seasons of a show, and I wouldn't want him to do that anyway. But just picture this, right? So season 7, right? Same ending, right? LaGuardia gets killed by Deb. But then season 8 starts up, and Dexter is, going on about his business. He's upset that Deb won't talk to him. But when he finally gets Deb to speak to him, he finds out, hey, she's been getting some pretty crazy letters. She's been hearing something about someone killing 4 people, and what is this? And that could be a big part of what causes her and Dexter to reconnect, right? She recognizes that Trinity is back. He's in the area. He wants revenge. Killing Rita wasn't enough. And now he wants to take out everybody else at Miami Metro. at the very least, the ones closest to Dexter, and this like causes her to move in with him for them to stay together. And throughout the whole season, Deb keeps warning Dexter, do not play with your food, don't even pursue him. Think of how badly this went last time. And he just cannot will himself to not try to seek him out, right? And we can again have the whole like cat and mouse game, because really what these episodes are supposed to be is something akin to, like, let's say the Zodiac Killer, right? Where there's a lot of phone calls from payphones. There's a lot of interactions where, like, they don't physically see each other throughout the whole season. But, Trinity could be anywhere. He could be outside of Miami Metro watching from his car. He could be outside of Dexter's house watching, Harrison get dropped off. And he can make all the taunting comments. I left the boy alive last time. Did I make a mistake? What has he done that was worth living for these last 4 years? And again, Dexter trying to pursue him, he's leaving breadcrumbs of what he is, right? Getting sloppier because he's just losing his mind, not knowing where Trinity is, not knowing when he's going to strike, who he's going to kill. And honestly, again, if assuming this is the last season, which of course, knowing Showtime, they wouldn't let this be the case, but assuming that this was the final season, I would probably have Trinity take out somebody else. I'm not going to suggest any names, but I think I probably would have him get at least some close victory that would, again, send Dexter over the edge, right? But toward the end of the season, he finally catches up to him. He takes him out. It doesn't have to be the last episode. It could be the second to last episode, third to last episode, whatever. But him catching and killing Trinity is what causes him to be outed as a serial killer and to be found out, and for everyone to put the pieces together that, yeah, this guy got his revenge on the guy that was getting his revenge on him for messing his stuff up in the first place, and that it's been like this elongated rivalry between the two that came to a head twice. And, I know a lot of people can say, oh, well, why use the same villain again, right? But again, it's like, really think about the actual season 8. Was Saxon, like, what about Saxon, right? Brain surgeon, whatever you want to call him. What about him was demonstrative of a proper final antagonist? Like when you look at Saxon, you put him up against, Brian or Trinity or, any of the other killers. What about him made him the one that the show should end on, the one that should be the final challenge to Dexter? I mean, just think about it. Like, what are we really losing by getting rid of a newer, in my opinion, blander, forgettable villain and installing the one that people tend to agree is the most well-liked or most popular, again, besides Brian. And people could say, again, this feels like a retread of season 4. I would say not really, right? Because this time Trinity has no double life, and that would play, again, a big part into why I think he'd have an advantage over Dexter here, where because Trinity doesn't have to keep up the appearances of a family man, that's all gone, he can just circle around, be around the neighborhood, doing all types of stuff to keep Dexter on his, P's and Q's, whereas Dexter has to keep trying to have this civilian aspect of himself, appear to be legitimate to others. And again, a big part of the show is Dexter claiming that he, can't feel anything for people, which we know is BS, but I don't know, I find something so poetic about the thing that gets him exposed was getting attached to another person and having that person ripped away from him by a monster and then taking out the monster himself. And you could even have like an episode or two, again, with the reaction to this, where some of his colleagues come and visit him in jail. They don't think what he did was wrong, or they understand it, or they're very sympathetic to him in that regard. But again, when I picture this version of season 8, I think it would blow the one we got out of the water. Doesn't say much, right? Not going to pretend it would automatically be as good as season 4, but I do think having Trinity survive season 4, come back and terrorize Dexter again, but this time there's no secret identity that he has to keep up the appearances of, which gives him this home field advantage on Dexter because he knows everything about him and where he is, but then Dexter doesn't know where the hell he is. I just think would be so much more interesting than what we ended up getting. So that's just my opinion.